Almost 95% of industries miss up to 50% of their leads just because they can't answer calls when somebody's calling them. I mean, that's a huge opportunity there. Just like we were in the internet era, right? Where every business required a website in order for you to present yourself as a modern day business. Now we're entering that phase of AI being incorporated into your business. Voice agents are becoming extremely powerful where most customers won't be able to really tell the difference between whether they're interacting with a voice agent or with the real person. Whether you like it or not, it is going to happen. So now some of the business who are thinking about that, they are going to be very successful in the future. And then you, as somebody who's willing to offer this consultancy, make a business's process easy, like what is email management, customer service support, voice agent for as a receptionist, or even kind of upselling, right? That's a great thing about N8N, in my opinion, is the fact that you can have so much integration with different platforms that really allow you to build really complex client-ready voice agents and other automations. N8N, visually, it's very easy to use and it's very beginner-friendly. You'll get stuck several times, you'll get frustrated, but N8N has such a great community. It's a space for everybody to kind of collaborate and get over those humps. This industry has such big potential that people are not realizing that we're just at the beginning of this.
I'm here with Zubair Trabzada, and he runs the AI Workshop channel on YouTube, where he helps people that want to start AI agencies monetize their AI agencies using N8N as a backend platform. As a previous agency owner, we're going to be chatting back and forth on use cases, how to get up and running, pitfalls, and deeply understanding how people can get up and running to build their own AI agency. Zubair, it's awesome having you on the podcast, brother.
Thanks for having me, man. Super excited.
I really enjoy your channel. You actually went and recently have spoken at the San Francisco N8N Hackathon or N8N Meetup, where we were talking about building, it was a voice agents with RAG, which you had some pretty advanced sophistication. So I'd be really curious to kick things off. How do voice agents with RAG tie in to both N8N and AI agency owners that want to build their own business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I've been recently, exploring voice AI agents a bit deeper. Obviously, I've been creating content around N8N for a while now, but I think the voice agent space is really ramping up, and there's a lot of interest as these different platforms kind of hit the market. So one of our exclusive partners with the AI Workshop is called Retail AI, which is one of the best voice AI platforms, and it's a no-code platform, and it's a really good fit when it comes to with N8N because you can create like inbound agents, outbound agents that could be initiated directly from your N8N workflow, right? So that's a great thing about, N8N, in my opinion, is the fact that you can have so much integration with these different platforms that really allow you to build really complex client-ready voice agents and other automations. In my community, there's a bunch of people who have already had one of the fastest, sales when it comes to like beginner-friendly client automation is voice agents, just because it's very easily. I think one of the best things about voice agents is you can demo it really well, right? Like, especially if a client is on a phone or a discovery call for your AI agency, or if you're just an AI consultant, then you can really easily sell that because you can demo it right away on the spot. So it's a very exciting space. And then I think as the space kind of becomes more and more popular, and as businesses start to realize that now voice agents are becoming extremely powerful, where most customers won't be able to really tell the difference between whether they're interacting with a voice agent or with the real person.
Yeah. And what's interesting is there's kind of this mind-blowing thing when you have a voice agent, when you can not only just talk to it like you would do natural human speech, and then when it can go and take actions inside of a business, whether they're adding leads into a CRM or booking a calendar event or something like that, it gets to the realm of magical. So, I guess when you're talking about this thing of being a super simple to set up or integrate into a business, and then also being able to provide massive value is that one of the key pieces for helping these AI agencies kind of get started to get their first customer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great point. Like, when you think about, businesses that are right now starting to at least notice that, hey, just like we were in the internet era, right, where every business required a website in order for you to kind of present yourself as a modern day business. Now we're entering that phase of kind of AI being incorporated into your business, right? So efficiency is going to be the name of the game. And right now we're in the beginning stages. As like this market expands and as AI is going to take over every aspect of every business, if you're a business that's not incorporating AI or AI automation to make your, processes efficient, you're going to fall behind, right? You're going to lose to your competitors. And whether you like it or not, it is going to happen. So now some of the business who are at this stage who are thinking about that, they are going to be very successful in the future. And then you, as a person who is somebody who is willing to offer this consultancy or become an AI consultant, an AI automation consultant, whether that's, using just a simple automation that you would create an end-to-end to make a business's process easy, like whether it's email management, customer service support, or whatever it may be, or a voice agent for as a receptionist, or even kind of upselling, right? Like one of the automations that I created with N8N and retail was upselling existing customers, where all of that gets initiated from your N8N workflow on a scheduled trigger, right? So you have your CRM, your automation kind of goes through the customer database and then uses a retail AI voice agent to call those customers to upsell different services. I mean, it's incredible how powerful it's becoming. And that's why, like I said, for me, the best combination is N8N with retail, just because, how easy it is to create these things. And I've used other platforms like Vapi and Ultravox and 11 Labs. So there's a bunch out there, but obviously I've just from my experience and the different, things that I've created, for me, retail was something that went really well with N8N there.
Yeah. So talk to me about this, because I'm not as familiar with the retail AI. So what are some of the elements that makes it so good for integrating with N8N? Like, why is it the thing that you chose that over Vapi?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the biggest thing was just the ease of use, right? That user interface is super simple and it is very powerful as far as like how complex you can create. So there's like single prompt agents, multi-prompt agents, conversational flows that really gives you the ability to control and reduce hallucination. I think that's one of the things that, if you have built any automation for a client or you're planning to build automation for clients, one of the things that you have to realize that even though the AI agent is a buzzword, right? But unfortunately, if you're creating that for real clients, a lot of times a simple automation doesn't even include AI agent. It includes just, connecting different dots together if you, to make it simple. And it's the same thing with like voice agents, right? The reason why you want to be able to have control over the conversation of what the voice agent is going to say is for that particular reason. You want to reduce hallucination. You want to control the responses that the voice agent is going to give to your customers based on the queries or based on the questions they have. So that's where like you want to have a platform where, just like N8N, visually it's very easy to use, right? And it's very beginner friendly. So that was one of the reasons, but obviously, it's people's preference. Like some people might, and with N8N, the great thing is like I've built stuff with Vapi and N8N as well. So, it just depends on your preference. But from my experience, because I've used all of them, I just kind of landed on retail because of how simple it is and how powerful it is to use.
Yeah. So talk to me about a couple of these different integrations and workflows from N8N to this retail voice agent. Like, what are some of the workflow and patterns? You talked about one of them being, is this retail AI to an N8N workflow to a CRM database that they then upsell. What are a couple of these different patterns that people should be aware of if they set up this architecture, they can actually have this value add, service add as a AI agency?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to building things for clients specifically, especially when you're starting new, right? Like, and this is one of the things that I describe, because we have a kind of 5-week day-to-day accountability and kind of step-by-step guide on how to start kind of your AI agency. Because let's face it, most people are new to this space, and now there's a lot of noise. Like everybody's talking about AI agency, but at the end of the day, you want to be able to pick a particular niche and get really good at it, right? That's the only way. You don't want to jump in from one niche to another, selling from real estate to like e-commerce to gyms, that's a recipe for disaster. I think the best thing is to really stick with a niche that you want to become an expert in the long term, right? And that's one of the things that I focus on in the AI agency course in my community is like, don't get distracted, right? It's going to take time. You need to have patience. Don't be kind of fooled by some of the videos that you see on YouTube. And this was kind of one of the rants I created, or a video I made that kind of ranted about, I would see sometimes like 18, 19-year-old kids talking about like making $200,000-$300,000 a month with their AI agency. I'm like, oh my God, that's just not true. Right? That's not how things work. Like, especially if you've had any real life experience building and selling to businesses, you have to be realistic, right? And the reason why I focus on really making sure that you become, even if you're not an expert at a particular niche, you need to be able to have enough understanding of the industry of that particular niche that you can speak the same language to the business owner. Because otherwise they're just not gonna buy anything from you, right? At the end of the day, whether it's using N8N to create automations or voice agents or whatever it may be, for a business owner, these terms are irrelevant, right? They're looking to solve a problem, right? They have a problem and you're there to provide a solution. So you're selling them a solution, whether it's using N8N, a voice agent, whatever it may be, they're not interested in that. So that's what you need to understand, that you need to be able to speak their language so that selling becomes easier. And then you can build out your automations with N8N, whatever platform you're using, right?
Yeah. It's a great point. There's two things I want to dial in on. The first thing is around this. If you pick a niche, right, whether it's real estate or e-commerce or whatever it is, and you can build out a couple of different workflow patterns, you're able to then say, add value into a business. And what they really care about is, can you solve my problems in my industry with my niche? And can you get it up quickly and efficiently so I can be a more efficient business, right? So with the real estate, a lot of it comes down, can you find me real estate properties? Can you call clients? Can you follow up with them? Could you follow up services when they are going to go do a house visit? There's a couple of different patterns that people have. And if you stay in that niche field, then when you go to solve that for one customer, you can quickly implement that to another customer repeatedly. And that allows you kind of scale into the industry. Now before I get into your super authentic video, which I did watch on, which I thought was great, because there's a balance between this whole razzle dazzle. I made $4 billion in 3 seconds using N8N. And then there's the other side of this authentic communication of like, hey man, this is some real talk. It is really hard to scale any business is going to have its difficulties. It is easier with AI and automation. It's easier in this having a unique skill set, but this will take time and energy to build up. And then the maintenance of trying to manage multiple clients on retainer, if that's what you do, is difficult. If the more niche you get into that one specific field, knowing this with an agency, the more you can repeat and stamp and repeat these different processes and then solve similar problems in the same industry. So before I get to the real talk, which I think was really valuable, let's just pick one niche and let's just talk about a couple of these different patterns, like N8N workflow patterns and ones, and say, okay, if you're going to start e-commerce or real estate or whatever, talk to me about that. If someone wants to start an AI agency, and just you pick the niche, and let's just talk about a couple of these different patterns of value adds for these businesses.
Yeah, that's a good point. So just like you mentioned, it is going to take time, right? That's something that we have to be realistic. And that's why I always try to tell people like, hey, don't come into this field with the expectation that you're going to start to make thousands of dollars like in your first month. Is it possible? Absolutely, right? I mean, there's people who are already experts in their field. I remember one of our community members, he was in the roofing business for like 20 years. And he started kind of learning N8N automations and kind of voice agents and everything like that. And that's when he started to sell it a lot easier because he was expert at his own industry, which was roofing. It's very, very specific, right? So he already had all of the knowledge about that industry, but now he kind of updated his skills to incorporate AI into that industry, right? So let's say, for example, a car business, right? Like a mechanic shop, right? You think about the different needs that a person who is running their own shop, most of the time they're going to be a 1 or 2 person business, especially for that particular niche, right? So you want to be able to understand, okay, what are the problems that this particular business is facing? Because the good thing is then once you figure out those things, and then the beginning, that's why, like I said, it takes a little bit of time to really understand that business, and you want to be able to put in the effort and the work to understand the processes, because that's how you can determine, all right, here are the pain points that this business in particular is facing, and I can apply that in the entire industry, right? Because obviously there's thousands of mechanic shops, right? So chances are, if they're having, like, for example, we were talking to one of the clients, and they were just saying, hey, I'm a 1-person business. I cannot get to my calls, right? I cannot answer all of my calls, and I'm actually losing business. So we were in the process of building like a receptionist voice agent for them that all it did was just pick up the phone, answer the most frequently asked questions that a normal customer would. And then it had integration with a Google Calendar where they would just set appointments. I mean, something as simple as that. And there's a lot of research done on different industries that almost 95% of industries miss up to 50% of their leads just because they can't answer calls when somebody's calling them. I mean, that's a huge opportunity there for somebody who is starting to get in this agency. And by the way, this is not just specific to, a mechanic shop or your dental reception or whatever it may be. This kind of applies throughout the entire industry. So that's how, like, you kind of become good at something and you start to really show yourself that, all right, I'm going to become an expert, not necessarily an expert, but somebody who's capable of just talking to the problems of a customer that they're potentially facing. And then you can scale that up, right? Once you solve a few problems, that will be applied to different industries. And that's how you can start to now scale up your business, because now you also don't want to end up in the place where you're just creating complicated custom solutions and workflows and automations for every single client, because that's just not a way to scale up your services.
Yeah, it's one of the traps that some people fall into, especially when you start an AI agency, is you build these hyper complex specialized systems for one unique individual or one company, and then you get so deep in the rabbit hole that you can't really spread that across to other businesses that you're serving.
Yeah.
Versus this customer service, FAQ to appointment setting for mechanics, right? Universal problem if you have any kind of things. So you could probably build some sort of thing that looks at Google reviews, see who's got the most Google reviews, and then reach out to them and go, you must be flooded with business. Let me build a service for you so that you can get all these calls. Yep. So that's kind of how you can do a 1-2 combo. When you're setting up these types of systems, and let's just take this in, for example, customer service, FAQ, to setting databases, booking appointments, what are the workflows, or what do you need to set up to make that happen?
Yeah, so I think, just like I mentioned earlier, as far as focusing on the problem, right? So once you focus on the problem and figure out what the problem is, that's where you can now start to kind of do reverse engineering, right? You start with what your end goal is, and then based on that, you figure out what the automation that you're going to build, whether it's just end-to-end workflow automation with different tools, right? Whether it's like your Gmails of the world or Slack or whatever it may be, or it's a voice agent that you're building, you kind of start to work backwards, right? So that's how you can start to understand, all right, after the conversation with this particular customer, with this client, you need to like get into the mode of wireframing. All right, what are the different steps I need to take in order to achieve the end goal, which is solving this particular problem, right? So that's how you can start to really develop that skill, because it is a skill. Right? At the end of the day, you're not going to get it in the first few times, right? And that's why I always mention that you have to, in the beginning, not worry about making money, because you want to be able to offer some of these. You might have to do it for free for a couple of your first clients, right? Just to get the understanding and not have that pressure of, oh, I've got to deliver like 100%. So just to get started, I think not focusing on the money aspect of it is, I know it's difficult because, like I said, you're seeing all these numbers being thrown in your face, but I think that's where, if you're serious about this industry, and this industry has such big potential that people are not realizing that we're just at the beginning of this, right? We're not, and even the AI agency, where sometimes I kind of like don't like that term because it's kind of been blown out of proportion. You want to kind of focus on, you're becoming a consultant almost, right? And you're using these amazing tools like N8N and these other platforms that are out there in the market that are just basically solving problems. That's it, right? I don't know if I answered your questions. I kind of went off.
No, not really, but we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But the point being is it is a consultancy. And the thing is, like with anything, when you know the problem of the company better than they do, and you say, hey, look, I've worked with, and so if you're going to get started, let's say you work with mechanics. Let's just say you are a mechanic or you work in a mechanic shop. You're like, hey, man, and this is one of the ways I got started. I hit up some friends in the business. I said, what are some problems that you have that I can solve for you? Like, I just want to try to build these things out. What are things that you typically do? One of my buddies was like, oh, I reach out to leads on LinkedIn. Here's what I do. Here's my messages. So then I built out an automation flow for that. Then I figured out that core skill set and then kind of stack through that. But if you're say I work in a mechanic shop or figure that domain expertise, and then you start to solve those problems. And then when you go to meet with somebody and say you're going to do like a discovery call or something else, you can start to wireframe or design these things up, whether it's a mirror board or a Lucid Spark board or whatever, and go, okay, cool. What's your core problem? Okay, cool. Well, here's a couple of patterns that I've solved. Let's talk about some of the ways to get this done. And you can wireframe those things up. And even more powerful than that is especially when you show them a working example inside of N8N and you show them, hey, I'm gonna open up my phone. You're gonna see me call this thing. I'm gonna talk to it, and then we're gonna see all these buttons and things spin on N8N. There's a sense of like, oh, they know this, they've solved this, they've done this. And so there's a little bit of digging the well for your business in order to be able to show people and gain their confidence and trust where you can start to get bigger retainers, more clients in industry. But if you're specific, then people start to trust you. And so I think that's kind of what you're talking about the willingness to put some time in.
Yeah. And I think you brought up a great point. I think people underestimate the power of in-person events, right? I think that's something that people are always like, oh, I got to find my client. I got to DM 1,000 people. Honestly, like in the beginning, just go to meetups and just like you mentioned, talk to people like, hey, what problems are you facing, right? Let's say you're in the real estate industry, right? Go to real estate meetups, like build a solution for one or two clients, right? Or one or two people for free, right? And another thing that I kind of focus on kind of on the AI agency core side of things is like, hey, build and showcase it via social media, right? I mean, that's free. Like create a YouTube channel. Don't worry about showing your face if you're shy. That's fine. All you have to do is just record your screen, show what you're building, what you have built. So that way, that's almost like your resume. So next time when you're getting in front of a customer or a potential customer, you can send that work, right? The great thing about YouTube and the LinkedIn's and the social medias of the world, specifically YouTube, right? Because you can see the video and you can send that to a customer and they can see exactly, look, you've been building for the past 2-3 months. Like this is not something that you just showed up yesterday and you're claiming to be an expert, right? That's how you stand out. And the first few builds, once you build it for whether it's a friend or just somebody you meet at a meetup, it could be something as simple as literally, like I said, solving email management for people, right? You build a simple automation N8N where it just categorizes incoming emails for a business. I mean, that's a very simple automation that you can build in N8N, but everybody needs that, right? And then you can move on to the more complex one, whether it's like, voice agents or building kind of automations for CRMs or whatever it may be. So it's always just start simple, showcase your work, because that's how you can build your resume. And then when you reach out to potential client next time, you send your resume. That's inevitable. Nobody's going to deny that you faked a YouTube video tutorial that you did, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the best things, and why I personally like hackathons. I got started doing like high-tech hackathons, and it's a resume is one thing, but another thing is this portfolio of work. And if you go to enough hackathons, you go around people, you're in this community of everyone's learning and growing with N8N, trying to figure out things, and you try to pick up different automations, workflows, and patterns, you can then start to build a resume of work, and then you always get the work you show. And so if you go to take that, like, so imagine you go to like an N8N hackathon or event, you build a portfolio of work, or you go to your community, build a portfolio of work, and then you go to some, I don't know, knitting group or some nonprofit group, and you're like, hey guys, here's all the things I've built. And then all of a sudden you become that regional superstar because you can show these unique things that you built and then you're kind of transplanting that knowledge of the N8N special skills into this unique industry. Then all of a sudden you can start getting work that way. If you don't want to do necessarily social media, if you can do it in that regional sense. So I love the fact of going to like in-person events for that. and being able to find people that might be willing to either do it for free or in some sort of like limited scope because you're still trying to get, your feet under yourself.
No, 100%. And, the goal of this is not for you to become a social media personality or a YouTuber, let's say, right? It's just for you to showcase your work, right? And especially like we mentioned before, if you're focusing on a particular industry, and now if you have built, let's say 5 to 10 like automations and that's present in YouTube or, LinkedIn or whatever it may be, now you can showcase, and when you're getting in front of that client, you can talk to them like, hey, look, I've been building about this in your particular industry for the past like several months, and here's my body of work, right? And that's what's going to provide more, because obviously, like I mentioned before, everybody's new in this space, including businesses. So it's hard to trust people, especially if you're asking, right? If you're asking for money, a business is not just going to give you their money until they're sure of that you know what you're doing.
100%. And so when people are getting started with this, so we talked a little bit about how to get your first client. We talked about where to find them, how to post, how to build a body of work. But when people are getting into N8N, what do you think are some of the core skill sets? What are some of the things like, okay, I'm excited. I want to get into this space. I'm new to the space. What are some of the key things they need to figure out in order to really get up and running?
One of the things about N8N is, again, I've been building for the past year now with it. So maybe I come in from a different perspective. But if you're just getting started, I think just building is the best way to learn. And you're going to get frustrated. That's inevitable, right? And, a lot of people who get started, sometimes they give up very quickly because they're like, this is not working. But I think if you have the patience and the persistence to get over those humps, especially in the beginning, then after a month or two of building, you will realize that you will start to learn the patterns of getting over those little humps, right? And it is a skill. At the end of the day, you're learning a new skill. So you have to be patient. You have to understand that with any new skill, you're going to run into times where you're not going to know what you're doing. And I think that's why, N8N has such a great community, right? Whether it's on YouTube or, the private communities that we have, it's a space for everybody to kind of collaborate and get over those humps. So that's where you need to have those systems in place. So when you run into these issues, you don't get frustrated and give up, right? And in the beginning, it's just the first few months especially is the most important. So that way you dedicate your time. And I think, in my opinion, daily progress is a huge advantage in this space. Like, you don't want to say, you know what, I'm going to work for 8 hours on Friday and learn all of it. That's not how it works. Like, you want to be able to dedicate an hour or two. And I know everybody's busy, especially if you have a 9 to 5, then you want to be able to set aside, let's say, 1 hour a day, right? But you want to say, you know what, for this 1 hour a day, whether it's from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., I'm going to just spend all that hour working on this thing. Even if I get stuck, I'm going to keep going. And if you have that daily progress, you would be surprised how far you will get in 30 days.
Yeah, you mentioned something about having like a daily accountability check-in of something 5, or what was that? What were you talking about?
Yeah, so I was talking about in our community. So we have an AI agency course in our community, and it's a 5-week program. It's kind of like a day-to-day guide on how to kind of get started, how to, set up your business name. And because it's designed for people who are absolutely new, who are beginners. And I purposely kind of kept it to like 4 to 5 weeks because, I don't want them to get into this, habit of just, all right, I'm just going to watch another tutorial and learn a thing. You want to be able to get started as soon as possible. And that 4 to 5 weeks is enough for you to set up everything you need in order for you to get started and actually, sell to clients, or at least start to get in front of your clients, right? And one of the focuses that I have on that program is same thing, content, right? You get started, whatever you're creating, post it, right? And I have, full guides on how to do that, whether it's on YouTube or LinkedIn. So those day-to-day accountability is like kind of specific tasks that I provide for people to, all right, on day 1, this is what you do. And then as the days go, so kind of like in the first week, it's a little slow, but then after the second week, it starts to ramp up a little bit. You kind of get more tasks to do because again, the goal is to not get discouraged. And when people get started, that's why it's good to just start slow and then ramp up. So that's what I was talking about specifically. But the whole point of all this, even if you're not part of my community, just to get started and do something every single day and not miss it, right? Even if it's like 15 minutes because you want to have that daily progress, and that momentum builds. And after a while, you'll be able to get to a place where now so that's why I was talking about the program is just 4 to 5 weeks every day though, right? For like 30 to 40 days where you're just doing something every day. And then afterwards, you just kind of scale and see what works, whether that's posting content on different platforms, and you kind of scale that. You put more focus on that.
Got it. Yeah. So it's kind of like learn and show.
Exactly.
I'm going to learn about something. I'm going to build it, and then I'm going to show it off. And then if you do that enough times, you start to build a portfolio of work, and then you can show it off. And so
exactly. And a lot of people, it is, like I said, it is difficult because a lot of people are new to this space. So that's why we use our experience from our AI agency to say, hey, so this is how you on day 20th, now you're going to start to run discovery calls in front of clients. This is how you talk to them. And we have mock discovery calls where we show with clients to see how do you do that? How do you talk to clients, right? And then, later on, we kind of talk about the pricing, how to price your services, kind of a value-based pricing, right? You want to be able to, when you're giving a customer the price for the automation that you're building, you need to make sure they understand why you're giving them that specific number. And that's where we talk about the details of value-based pricing, because you're giving them, this price and say, this is what it's going to solve, and this is how much money it's going to save you. Therefore, the price that I'm offering for this automation is going to be worth 10 times for you.
Yeah, makes sense. And so what would be one practical, tactical piece of advice that would you give to somebody who's getting into N8N when they're just starting out?
Yeah, I think like I mentioned before, I think the most important thing is persistence and patience. Honestly, that's the only skill, in my opinion, that you need, because everything else you can figure out. If you're patient and you're persistent in your work, and you have the support system that will get you over those humps, and you can just say, hey, I understand that this is new. I'm going to run into issues, but I'm going to get over this, and over time, I'll get better at this. And that's where that persistent comes in, right? If you are working to build a particular automation, and again, it's inevitable. You will not, you'll get stuck several times. You'll get frustrated, but that's okay. Take a break, come back at it, do it again. I think that's probably the most important advice I can give anybody.
Love it. And how do people, this has been a great podcast, love to have you on. How do people find you if they want to find you?
Yeah, so I have my YouTube channel, AI Workshop, and my school community. I have the free school community, AI Workshop Lite, and the paid school community, obviously, where, we provide kind of beginner courses for people who are completely new to N8N, including kind of on the voice agent aspect of it as well, because we are official partners with Retail AI. So we provide certification, which then once you complete the voice AI course and do the builds, then you can actually become a certified partner in retail, where then they will post you on their website, where then if you're getting in front of clients, now you are a certified retail voice AI agent consultant. So, and then also on our community, we have, like I mentioned before, the AI agency course. So if you have never, if you're new to this space completely, it's kind of like a day-to-day program that you can come in. And obviously the biggest asset is our community members. We have amazing community members from all over the world. And that's where people run into issues. They post their problems. We all work together to solve them. And we have a bunch of other great collaboration projects that really give you that, that actual community. So yeah, you don't feel alone.
The power of community. Zubair, it's been an honor and pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Much love, and I'll see you on the other side, my friend.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Take it now. Bye.